We all worry about our data privacy, right? Who has our information? What are they doing with it? But what if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if the whole data privacy debate is actually missing the real, much bigger threat? Well, let's get into it because a new analysis suggests we might be focusing on the wrong problem entirely. This quote from Dr. Yogesh Malhotra, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it. He's reframing the entire conversation. See, it's not just about companies selling our data for ads. The real play here is using that data to actively command and control our choices, our actions, and as we're about to see, even the security of entire nations. And think about it. You see the headlines all the time, right? Some company gets hit with a massive fine for a data breach. But here's the thing. That penalty always comes after the damage is already done. So it begs the question, are these fines actually protecting us? Or are they just a line item on a spreadsheet, the cost of doing business for these huge corporations? And that leads us straight into what's being called the data protection paradox. The metaphor here is just perfect. The very way we try to protect ourselves is fundamentally reactive. We're always playing catch-up, trying to close the barn door long after the horse is bolted. So let's break this down, because this is the crucial shift in thinking. On the left, you've got the old way of looking at it, data protection. That's all about what happens to your data after a company already has it. But on the right, that's the real issue, command and control. This isn't about the past. It's about who has the power to act right now, who can control the devices, the networks, and the systems we all depend on. Okay, so let's really define this idea of command and control, or C2 as it's called. It's pretty simple at its core. It's the ability of any system, and that could be you, your company, or an entire country, to basically run itself, to control its own destiny, make its own rules, and determine its own future. In our digital world, C2 is literally the key to survival. And the stakes when you lose C2? They are incredibly high. We're not talking about a simple privacy leak here. We're talking about a heart pacemaker being hacked and turned into a weapon. We're talking about social media algorithms being twisted to influence a national election. Or your own trusted phone or laptop being secretly hijacked to join a massive attack with you having no idea. This really reveals the true nature of the problem. It is a genuine crisis of control. The whole focus has to shift from what an adversary knows about you to what they can do to you. It's not about passive information anymore. It's about active capability. Now, to help us really wrap our heads around this, the author uses this powerful analogy, one we can all unfortunately understand these days. This crisis of control, it acts just like a digital pandemic, a contagion spreading silently through our hyper-connected world. And when you look at it this way, the parallels are kind of chilling. The virus, that's the malware. Patient zero, that's the first computer or phone to get infected. Community spread is that cascading attack that just rips through an entire network. And maybe the scariest one, the asymptomatic carrier. That's the unknowing insider, an employee, a trusted user, who becomes a channel for the attack without ever even realizing it. And that right there, that's the absolute heart of the danger. In all of our interconnected systems, trust is the glue that holds everything together. But the moment a single trusted person is compromised, they can become that channel of contagion and bring down the entire network of trust they belong to. Okay, so if we're facing a digital pandemic, how in the world do you fight it? You don't fight a real pandemic with fines after everyone's already sick. You need a proactive strategy, right? You need a public health response. Well, the same logic applies here, and it leads us to a totally new way of thinking about defense. And here's the difference in a nutshell. The old way, the reactive way, waits for something to break and then tries to figure out who to blame. That's all ex post or after the fact. The new way is proactive or ex ante, before the fact. It works on one simple but really powerful assumption. The bad guys are already inside your network. So your job isn't to build a perfect wall to keep them out. It's to build a system that's resilient enough to keep working even when they're in there. The entire foundation for this proactive defense is a concept called zero trust architecture, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. The old internet was built on a model of trust but verify. Zero trust flips that on its head. It's never trust, always verify. It trusts absolutely nothing and no one by default. Not your computer, not your apps, not your location, until it's been proven trustworthy. It's constantly asking, are you really who you say you are? And are you even supposed to be here? So how do you actually build this kind of defense? It's basically a three-step process. First, you use something called adversarial C2. You basically hack yourself first. You use the exact same tools the bad guys use to find your own weak spots. Second, you use that knowledge to constantly stress test your systems. And third, you build up what's called counter-adversarial C2, the active, real-time ability to fight back and neutralize threats as they pop up. And that brings that whole pandemic analogy full circle. This isn't about building a static wall, a passive firewall, and just hoping nobody finds a way over it. This is about creating a living, breathing, active immune system for our digital lives, one that can identify threats, isolate them, and neutralize them on the fly. All right, so this all leads us to the final and maybe the most important point. With this new way of understanding the threats and the defenses, what's the ultimate goal? What is the real race that nations and companies are actually running in the 21st century? You know, we hear all these buzzwords being thrown around constantly: AI supremacy, quantum supremacy. But the key insight here is that those things, they're just tools. They're incredibly powerful tools for sure, but they're not the end goal. Focusing only on them is like missing the forest for the trees. Because the ultimate goal, the real prize, is C2 supremacy. Think about it. It doesn't matter if you have the world's best AI or the fastest quantum computer. If someone else has command and control of the network it runs on, the one who can maintain their own ability to act while disrupting their adversaries, that's who will have true supremacy in the digital age. And so that really leaves us with a final question to think about. In a world where these digital threats are spreading like viruses through the very networks we trust, is it really enough to just ask companies to protect our data after it's already gone? Or do we need a fundamental shift in our thinking? Do we need to start fighting for the ability to command and control our own digital destiny?